Hello, friends. Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome back to another Cryptid Deep Dive. This time we're looking at the Mirrored Men, the Synchronized Stalkers. Join me. Let's take a walk and see. Now, in the ever-evolving landscape of high strangeness, the monsters of the 19th century, the hairy wild men and the lake serpents, are slowly being replaced by entities that reflect the anxieties of the digital age. Enter the Mirrored Men. Also known as the Three Men or the Synchronized Men, this phenomenon is distinctly 21st century horror. They are not spirits of the forest, nor are they radioactive mutants. They appear to be glitches in the code of reality itself. Witnesses describe seeing three men who look identical, dress identical, and move with a mechanical, horrifying synchronization. They are the uncanny valley of individuality. They terrify us because they suggest that human beings can be mass-produced, or that the person standing across the street might not be a person at all, but a duplicate file in a simulation that is running out of memory. Now, the origin was a podcast phenomenon. Now, unlike the Jersey Devil, which came about in the 1700s, or even the Mothman in 1966, the Mirrored Men are a baby in the world of cryptozoology. The phenomenon was largely categorized and named by Derek Hayes, host of the popular podcast Monsters Among Us. Around 2018, Hayes began receiving calls from listeners that followed a bizarrely specific pattern. Callers, often from completely different parts of the country, were describing the same impossible event, seeing three men standing in a triangle formation, moving in perfect unison. Now, this wasn't a case of mass hysteria propagated by movie. These were isolated witnesses describing a specific, distinct anomaly that had no prior name in folklore. The consistency of the reports, the number three, the synchronization, the lack of verbal contact, suggested a genuine, albeit baffling, phenomenon. Now let's take a look at the anatomy of the glitch. So what makes the Mirrored Men so disturbing? It's not that they look monstrous. In fact, their terrifying nature lies in how boring they look until they move. First, there's the NPC aesthetic. Witnesses almost always describe the men as looking generic. They're often dressed in business casual attire, which is slacks and button-up shirts, gray suits, or even workman's clothes. They're described as having average faces, no scars, no glowing eyes, no fangs. They look like NPCs or non-player characters in a video game. Background extras designed to fill space, not to be interacted with. Then there's the triangle formation. This is the signature of the phenomenon. The men are almost always standing in a perfect triangle or even a straight line. They do not cluster naturally like a group of friends would. They stand equidistant from one another, like chess pieces placed on a board. Then there's the synchronization, or the mirror. The horror begins when they start to move. If one man raises his left hand, the other two raise their left hands at the exact same millisecond. If one man takes a step, they all step. If they turn to look at the witness, the head snap happens simultaneously. Now, this is not the synchronization of a well-rehearsed dance team or a military marching band. Witnesses describe it as mechanical in appearance. It lacks the micro variations of human muscle. It looks like a single signal is being sent to three different bodies instantly. It looks like a lag or a duplicate error in a video game. The typical encounter usually happens either at a parking lot or at a pier, strangely enough. While sightings have occurred in woods and fields, the Mirrored Men seem to prefer liminal transient spaces, parking lots, roadsides, and piers. There's the retail encounter. A typical report of this nature involves a witness sitting in their car in a grocery store parking lot late at night. They notice three men standing under a streetlight. The men aren't talking, they're just standing. The witness looks down to check their phone. When they look up, the men are 5 feet or so closer. The witness freezes. The men then turn, in perfect unison, and begin to walk toward the car. Their footsteps hit the pavement as a single sound. Click, click, click. Panic sets in. The witness drives away. Looking in their rearview mirror, they see the men stop instantly, turning to watch the car leave, their heads rotating like owls. Now, there was one known as the Santa Monica Pier incident. It's one of the most chilling accounts and popularized on Monsters Among Us It involves a witness under the Santa Monica Pier. They saw three men walking in the sand. The men were lifting their legs unnaturally high. Now, this high step gait is often seen in the Smiling Man legends. Every time they took a step, they did it together, in synchronization. The witness felt a wave of nausea and wrongness, the biological alarm bell that rings when we see something that defies physics. The witness fled before the men could reach the stairs. Now let's look at some theories. Who are they? The mirrored men phenomena is a Rorschach test for modern paranoia. Depending on your worldview, they're either government agents, aliens, or some sort of software error that's causing a glitch in the Matrix, which is the first theory, the simulation theory. This is the most popular modern explanation. If we do indeed live in a simulation as proposed by the simulation hypothesis, then the mirrored men are a rendering error. The system needed to populate a scene with people, so it copied and pasted, in effect, the same model 3 times. The synchronization is a result of the models sharing the same AI script. This explains their generic appearance and lack of interaction. They are essentially background assets that glitched into the foreground. Then theory number 2 is the blue beam and psyops theory. Now, some conspiracy theorists believe the mirrored men are holographic projections or even military psyops. The unnatural movement is due to the frame rate of the hologram. The purpose is to test public reaction to anomalous events or even to test advanced projection technology, such as Project Bluebeam, which is allegedly meant to fake an alien invasion or religious event at some point. The third theory, the Men in Black, or MIB, rebranded. Now, there's a strong overlap between the mirrored men and the classic Men in Black. MIBs also often travel in threes. MIBs move stiffly and act robotically, and MIBs dress in identical clothing. However, MIBs usually have a purpose. They intimidate UFO witnesses. Mirrored men don't seem to care about UFOs. They just stand there. They are like the MIBs, but without a mission, or perhaps MIBs who simply malfunctioned. The fourth theory, the Ultraterrestrial Mind Hive theory. John Keel, author of the Mothman Prophecies, theorized that many entities are ultraterrestrials, beings that can manipulate matter and take any form they choose. If an entity is a hive mind, which is one consciousness controlling multiple bodies, it would struggle to make those bodies act independently. Imagine trying to play a video game with 3 controllers plugged in, all mapped to the same joystick. If you push forward, all 3 characters move forward. The mirrored men might be a single entity piloting 3 meat suits, if you will, simultaneously. Now, there's also an auditory clue, the mechanical click. A recurring detail in these encounters is sound, or sometimes the lack of it. Now, there's the Oz factor, like in the Glimmer Man, sightings are often preceded by sudden silence. And then there's the click. Some witnesses report a strange mechanical clicking sound accompanying the movement of the men. It sounds like a camera shutter or maybe a clock ticking. This reinforces the machine or automaton theory. Now, as far as the psychological analysis, it's the horror of conformity. Why does synchronization scare us? Because humans value agency. We believe we are individuals with free will. We move at our own pace. To see 3 people moving in perfect unison destroys the illusion of individuality. It suggests loss of self. Now, one fear is the automaton fear. Freud discussed the uncanny largely in relation to dolls and wax figures, things that look human but are automatic. The mirrored men, then, would be the ultimate automatons. They represent the fear that we are just biological machines that can be programmed. And then there's the fear of conspiracy. The 3 men archetype is historically tied to conspiracy, the tribunal, the triumvirate. 3 is a powerful number. A single weirdo is an anomaly. 2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern. 3 implies an organization. It implies that they're organized and you are alone. And then there's the doppelganger multiplied. Seeing a double of yourself would be scary, the doppelganger theory. But seeing multiples of a stranger is scary because it suggests that nature has run out of ideas. It makes the world feel small, fake, and claustrophobic. In conclusion, the loading error. The mirrored men are arguably the most terrifying cryptid of the modern era because they question the nature of reality itself. Like Bigfoot makes us question if we've explored the whole world. Ghost sightings make us question what happens after death. The mirrored men make us question if the world, as we see it, is even real. So, if you're walking through a parking lot tonight and you see three men standing by the corner, looking away from you, watch their shoulders. Wait for one of them to shift his weight. If they all shift at the exact same time, don't make eye contact. Just turn and walk away, get in your car, and drive away. And hope that the simulation doesn't decide to delete the witness. Well, friends, I look forward to your comments on this one. I'm Steve Stockton. Thanks for listening. Tell your animals I said hi. Stay safe out there.